About 500,000 cars will have to be discarded due to flood damage after Hurricane Harvey slammed southeast Texas. According to Forbes, and following major storms like this, many of them are likely to be cleaned up, repaired, and sold to unsuspected buyers. And joining us today is Erin Dufner with the Better Business Bureau to talk about how to be careful of businesses trying to sell flood damaged vehicles. Good morning. How are you?
Good to see you.
Thank you for being here. This is a very important topic. All right, so let's go ahead and start with checking the title. The title tells you the entire history of the vehicle, and you can do so with the VIN number.
Absolutely, and this is one of the things that people really need to take a look at, because BBB over the decades, whenever there's any kind of flooding, whether it's in Florida, it really covers the entire United States. BBB does see a lot of scams and a lot of misinformation about people purchasing vehicles that do have that flood damage, and really the issue is it not being disclosed to them. So there are some things you can do looking it up by the VIN number and looking at that title specifically, because if it has been salvaged, it should say on there salvaged vehicle, and then at that point you can decide if it's something that you want to purchase. If you're looking to restore something, it might be a great purchase, but for those people who aren't aware, and some of those problems can come up later, such as mold and those kind of things we really don't want in our cars with our kids, you just need to be aware.
You touched on something important, mold. One of the ways to kind of look at the vehicle and check to see if it has flood damage is by smelling the car.
Yeah, and it sounds kind of gross, right?
Yeah.
So you do the smell test, but mold and mildew, they have very, very specific scent, and because cars are closed and it's hot outside, it can be pretty easy to tell whether or not there's been water in the car, and that's something you might want to stay away from, because at this point we're pretty close to the flooded areas, and so these cars will start coming up, and we need to start talking about how long we're looking at. We're not looking at the next 5 months, 6 months. We're looking at maybe a couple of years down the road where people start getting rid of their vehicles that are flood damaged, and maybe they went and had the car repaired at some point, and now they're done with the car. So just keep looking. You should always check the title for salvage, but especially with so many cars flooded. Certainly we've got Florida on our minds as well. So there's probably going to be tens of thousands of salvaged flooded vehicles roaming around the United States.
Wow, and then let's say someone does, get stuck in a situation like this where they're dealing with a business that is selling them a, flood damaged car. How can they report that person?
Well, there are a couple of things you can do. Number one, if you're purchasing it in the state of Texas by a dealer, going to the DMV is a great place to just go ahead and report that. Also, going to BBB Scam Tracker is a great place, because then BBB can take a look at this issue all across the country and be able to warn people and get some more information and data and work with the authorities to try to help protect people from purchasing these cars under fraudulent circumstances. So just keep reporting. Don't be afraid. It's okay. And you can always go back to the dealer and say, hey, this doesn't sound fair. What are you going to do if you do buy that damaged vehicle? But also be careful when you're buying from individuals. Before you hand over that cash, look at that title.
All right. Well, great stuff. Good information. We're running out of time, but thank you so much for being here.
Good to see you.
It was a pleasure.